All right, so one of the first things that you need to be aware of is that eBay won't show your listing to more people if you have a high bounce rate. And you're probably thinking, Sam, what exactly is a bounce rate? So this is where eBay is going to calculate the amount of people that clicked on your listing and the amount of people that actually purchased from you. And this is also known as a conversion rate. And if eBay can see that a lot of people are bouncing off your listing and they're not actually going through with the purchase, then they're not going to show it to more and more people. So one of the things that I always try to do with all of my listings from the moment that I create the listing on the first day is to make sure that I put all the necessary information that anyone that's searching for that particular item will need for them to make a better buying decision. Because if you're able to put clear information in a structured way in your listing, a really good title, really good pictures, then there's a higher chance that someone that's looking to buy your item is going to buy from you rather than someone else. Not only do you need to make sure that you're giving the customer as much information that they need in the most simplistic way possible, but you also need to make sure that your listing is optimized for mobile phones. Over the past couple of years, more and more online purchases have been made through a mobile phone rather than a computer or rather than a laptop. And that's why it's very important as an e-commerce business owner that's selling on eBay to make sure that your listing is optimized for mobile phones. So what I personally do every single time I list a brand new item is that I get my phone, I go to the listing, I make sure that everything is structured in a professional, organized way, because again, I want to make sure that anyone that comes across my listing is going to buy it rather than bounce off and go somewhere else. And in addition to making sure that I'm organizing and structuring everything in a professional way, I also like to make sure that I'm incentivizing the visitor to go through with the purchase. So for example, I like to put things within the listing like if you buy from us, you can expect really good customer service and replies within 10 minutes. I also like to put information about my company to let them know that I'm a specialist for that particular item that I'm selling. And in some cases, I also like to give a free gift to the customer as well. And I'm also going to state that within the listing. Now, doing things like this and incentivizing the customer to buy from you is only going to allow your listing to be shown to more and more customers. If I had learned this in the early days from when I first started building up my eBay business, I would have been able to make a lot more money a lot sooner. All right, so moving on to the second thing that you need to make sure that you do for you to give yourself the best chance of making over $1,000 every single week from your eBay business, which is that you need to make sure that you never run out of stock. Reason being is because once you do everything I said in terms of structuring your listing in the best possible way, and you've now started to get sales, if you get to the point of, let's say, making around 1,000 sales a week, or let's say 50 sales a week, you need to make sure that you never run out of stock, because if you have to set your stock quantity to zero, this is going to be an indication to eBay that you're not really a trusted business seller, because eBay don't necessarily like it when sellers have to set their stock to zero, because it means that they can't really trust you when it comes to scaling that particular listing. And this isn't necessarily a hard fact that you're going to find anywhere on eBay's terms and conditions, but this is just something that I've noticed over my years of selling on eBay, which is that if you have to set your stock to zero, let's say your supplier doesn't have any available inventory, and then the following week you now get more stock available, so you're able to make the product available on your eBay account. Even though you're able to do that, the listing is not going to perform the same way that it used to. And the reason why I'm sure that this is definitely something that happens is because I was able to get one of my listings to the top of the eBay search results in a very competitive category. And from that one listing and that one product alone, I was able to bring in around $10,000 every single month. But then something happened with my supplier where they wasn't able to source me with that product. And because of that, I had to make the product unavailable. But when I now got it back in stock and I made it available for people to buy, I now dropped down from the number 1 spot in the search results down to the 8th spot, which meant that I wasn't making the same amount of money that I used to make before I made the product unavailable. So that's why I always advise every single new eBay seller like yourself to make sure that once you find a winning product and you start to bring in some sort of sales, you need to make sure that you never run out of stock, because this is going to be the death of your eBay listing. So to give you an example of an eBay seller that's doing this really well, I've just jumped onto eBay and I've typed in LED light bulb, and I'm going to click on the first one in the search results. And straight away, we can see that this eBay seller was able to sell 29 units in the last 24 hours. And in total, they've been able to sell 21,000 units. And of course, this is definitely something that we should expect, because they're selling a product that people need. People are always going to need light bulbs, and they're at the top of the eBay search results, which means that they're going to be able to make thousands of dollars or thousands of pounds from this one listing every single day. But the main thing that I want to show you right now is when they first listed this item on eBay. And the way that you can find that out is by copying the eBay seller's username just like that. And then jumping over to Zik Analytics, which is a product research tool specifically for eBay. And they've got a competition research tool right here. And what you're going to do is that you're going to paste the name of the eBay seller into this search bar. And then what you're going to do is leave it to the last 30 days and then click on search. All right, so as you can see, Zik Analytics is able to show us all this useful information. But the main thing that I want to show you is that if we scroll down over here, they're going to be able to show us the top performing items in this eBay store. And the first one that's bringing in the most money for this eBay seller is the one that we were just looking at. And in the last 30 days, over 816 people purchased this item. And in total, from the moment when they first listed this item, they've sold over 36,000 units. But most importantly, if we look at this column right here that says upload date, Zik Analytics is going to be able to show us exactly when they first listed this product on eBay. And as you guys can see, they've listed it since 2018. So right now we're in 2022, which means that it's been over 4 years since they first listed this item on eBay. And the point that I'm trying to make is that throughout the last 4 years, I'm sure that they probably never made the item unavailable for people to buy, because they wouldn't be at the top of the search results like this. Over the past 4 years, they would have needed to make sure that they had adequate stock, whether it's them making sure that they've ordered enough units to cover the next month or whatever the case is. And this is what you need to do as an eBay seller to make sure that you're maintaining your position wherever it is in the eBay search results. All right, guys, so moving on to the next most important thing that you need to know if you want to have a successful eBay store, which is that eBay uses external advertising for them to push out majority of the listings on their platform. And what I mean by that is there's so many ways that eBay pays money to various different websites for them to be able to show all the listings that they have on their website. And one of the biggest external advertising platforms that they use is Google Shopping. And if you don't know what Google Shopping is, I'm going to show you right now. So if we stick with the same example that we're just looking at, which is LED light bulb, what majority of customers will do is that they'll come into Google just like this, whether they're using a computer, mobile phone, whatever the case is, it's going to work the exact same way. But they're going to go into Google, type in the name of the product that they're looking for, they're going to click on search. And as you guys can see right here at the top, all of these different products that are being showcased, all of these individual companies are paying a certain advertising fee to Google for them to be at the top of the Google search results. And the reason why this is so powerful to be aware of is because Google is the #1 most visited website in the entire world. So if you're able to get your eBay listing on Google, that means that you're going to be able to make an additional amount of sales every so often. So not only would you be making sales from people that are going directly onto eBay, but you're also going to be able to make sales from people that are going on to Google that don't necessarily have an eBay account. And the way that they're going to be able to come across your eBay listing is by clicking on the shopping tab right here. And then from this point, they're going to have all of these different options available for them to buy. But if we just scroll down over here to this section here where it says seller, and as you can see, eBay is an option, so I'm just going to click on that. And all of these different products that you can see on the screen are from various different eBay sellers. And I'm sure that you can notice one common thing with all of the different products that you can see on the screen, which is that majority of them are using a plain white background for their main image. This is something that I'm happy that I learned when it came to me trying to scale my eBay stores, which is that if you're able to use a clear white image for your eBay listings, you're going to have a higher chance for you to appear in the Google Shopping results. Reason being is because Google don't necessarily allow different businesses to use Google Shopping if your image looks cluttered. If you got multiple different colors, you got multiple different things happening on the image, different watermarks, then you're probably not going to be published on Google Shopping. And this rule isn't just for eBay sellers, it's for every single business on the internet that wants to use Google Shopping as an advertising platform. Like for example, if I click on any one of the other businesses right here, so I'm going to click on Argos, which is a big retailer here in the UK. As you guys can see, majority of Argos's listings have a clear white background, no watermarks, nothing like that, just the image and a white background, and that's the reason why all of these products are being showcased on Google. So make sure that when it does come time for you to list your products, not only are you making it organized and structured and very professional, but you're also making sure to use clear white background so that you can give yourself the chance of making more sales by getting put on Google Shopping. Okay, so moving on to the fourth thing that most business owners need to be aware of, and not just eBay sellers, which is that after you've proven the concept, after you started to get revenue, you need to make sure that you don't just focus on revenue alone and that you also focus on free cash flow. Again, this is something that I'm super grateful that I found out about in the early days of me building up my eBay business, because instead of me just focusing my efforts on bringing in more revenue, I now realize that there's no point in making revenue if you're not making profits and you're not also making free cash flow. And by me being aware of the importance of free cash flow, I was now able to get to a position where not only was I making a lot of money, but I was also able to keep a lot of the money that I was able to make. and also have more money for me to reinvest back into my business and grow the revenues and the profits even more. And if you don't know what free cash flow is, it's simply all the money that came into your business within a particular month minus all the money that left your business within that same month. And the number that you get is your free cash flow. And you want to make sure that you're free cash flow positive month after month. Now, of course, when you first start building up your eBay business, this isn't going to be the case because you're going to have to invest in this and invest in that, which means that the money that is leaving your business within that month is going to be really high. But once you get to a point of stability, you need to make sure that on average, every month, you're bringing in more money than what's leaving your business. And I got one more bonus tip, which is very important for every single eBay seller to know, which is that whenever you get any negative feedback, you need to make sure that you remove it ASAP. One common mistake that I see so many eBay sellers making is that they will get a negative feedback, they'll see the comment that the buyer left, and then they'll just leave it there. They wouldn't do anything or even try to attempt to remove the negative feedback. However, on the flip side, with every single negative feedback that I've received on any one of my eBay accounts, I've always tried to remove it on that same day. Whether I was at fault or whether the buyer was wrong, it doesn't matter. I'm always going to try and deal with it as soon as I see that negative feedback. And the reason for this is because the more negative feedbacks that you build up, the more your percentage is going to drop, which means that any customers that come across your listing in the future is most likely not going to buy from you, and they're rather going to go to another seller with a higher feedback percentage. And there's so many different ways that you can remove negative feedback. One of the ways is that you can reach out to the buyer and maybe ask them to revise their feedback, and maybe you can give them some sort of incentive or some sort of coupon that will make them happy. Most of the time, if you apologize for whatever mistake you made and you maybe offer the buyer a refund, they're more likely going to revise the negative feedback. But most importantly, what you need to make sure that you do is that you need to check that it's not your fault as to why the negative feedback was left in the first place. Let's say, for example, you accurately described the item within the listing, but the customer wasn't happy with the item for whatever reason, and they stated that within the negative feedback, you're going to be able to call up eBay and get it removed without the buyer having to revise the feedback themselves. And there's actually a few other situations where you're going to be able to contact eBay directly, and you're not necessarily going to have to give any refund to the buyer when it comes to trying to get negative feedback removed. And I've actually broken down everything that I've personally done over the years to remove over 200 negative feedbacks across multiple different eBay stores in my step-by-step guide, Project eBay. In Project eBay, I go into a lot more detail as to what I personally do every single time I see a negative feedback, but most importantly, I also go through what I do to prevent getting negative feedback in the first place. So if you want to check that out, you can go to www.projectebay.com, or you can visit the first link in the description down below. Now, if you're enjoying the video so far, don't forget to press the like button, don't forget to subscribe, hit the bell notification so that YouTube can let you know when a new video has been released. And if you want to watch another YouTube video that I made not too long ago, where I break down the basic steps that every single beginner needs to know when it comes to starting an eBay business from scratch, I'm going to leave that video right there. Make sure you check that out straight after this video because it's already helped out thousands of people. And don't forget to add me on Instagram as well. I'm going to put that on the screen. All right, guys, I'll see you on the next video. Make sure you stay safe out there. Peace.